Nintendo announces a new Switch, much to the dismay of my E3 prediction. We talk about Lord of the Rings, the new MMO, as well as Outer Wilds and Slay the Spire on this episode of the Gaming Casuals Podcast. Welcome to the Gaming Casuals Podcast, the podcast where we talk about things that are casual and gamerific. I'm your host, John. To my left, we have Zach, the man Sharp.
Hey.
And Brando, similarly, the man Hargest.
How's it going?
We've got a load of stuff to talk about today, but first, we want your subscribership. Please subscribe to us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the things. Also, we have a lot of great content happening every day, so be sure to check your Instagram, comment, reply, let us know how we're doing. We want to know, so hit us up there. With that, let us begin. We need to talk about what we've been playing this week.
Yes.
I have been abroad in Europe. It has been a great time.
All right.
But I want to hear what you guys are doing with your time these past 2 weeks. So whoever wants to go.
I'll go first. Okay.
Go, Brando, go.
It's been a little while since we had a podcast, and I have been playing a ton of Outer Wilds. Outer Wilds is one of my favorite games of all time right now. It is so good. And I know it's high praise for something if you don't know what it is. And it's really hard to talk about sometimes because it is mainly a game you need to experience for yourself. It's a game that spoilers would be a detriment to it because it's literally
Hence
just...
definition of spoiler.
Exactly. But it's literally, if you found out, because you could essentially beat the game in 20 minutes. If you knew how to do it.
Yeah.
This game, for those who don't know, because it's kind of a word of mouth thing. It's on Game Pass right now. It's how I found it, and it's free. It's a great low barrier to jump in. It is essentially, and I've heard this term or heard this comparison out there. It's kind of like Majora's Mask, kind of Groundhog Day-esque with time. Meets interstellar space exploration. Not necessarily like No Man's Sky. I haven't really played No Man's Sky, but I hear it's very procedurally generated and it's very large and overwhelming. This is a game where you are an alien on this little planet and you are an astronaut, and the goal of this game, or the point of this game, is to discover what is going on and uncover the mystery of what's happening in your little solar system. There are about... maybe 5 or 6 little planets in this solar system, and everything is handcrafted to the T. I mean, everything is put there deliberately. Nothing is random as far as procedurally generated items or things. It is all happening, and it is so cool how this game has been put together. The team, I think it's Mobius Digital, was the team that developed this game. I don't know. It was such an ambitious game, and I don't know how they pulled it off, but they did with such a small team. This game it could take you about 15, 20 hours to get through it. But really, like I said, if you know how it works and what the story is, once you piece it all together, you could essentially beat it in 20 minutes.
Brandon's only been playing Outer Wilds.
All right, yeah.
Zach, do you have a little bit more diversity for us here?
Yeah, so I jumped on Game Pass for PC with Xbox, and it's pretty awesome. They have some really high quality games there. It's definitely a beta kind of startup program. It's nowhere near as robust as like the Xbox Game Pass
for console.
Yeah, completely. So I get the feeling that it's like it's good if you have both. But it's really surprising how many awesome games are on PC. So Astroneer, I played around with a little bit. It's a little bit of like a world building game. You're kind of jumping around on different planets and building stuff. It's like voxel based, I believe, so you can like dig and create pretty freely. I went ahead and played more Ark. I posted on our Instagram account probably like 2 weeks ago about like my house that I built. But man, this game is awesome. There's so many survival games out there, and they have so much content for Ark now. It's been going on for a long time. It's very well supported. So I'm still digging that game. I'm playing it a lot, just completely single player.
Yeah.
So it's been awesome. And then Slay the Spire is on Game Pass, and that's how I found it. And I've heard enough about it where it's like, it's gotten a lot of eyes on it. It's an indie game. It's like 2D card and board. So it kind of combines like a card game and roguelike. So you play through, you like choose one of 3 classes or characters, and you play through, and it's randomized. You get itemization. It's all cards. It's so incredibly fun. It reminds me of like the single player adventures in Hearthstone. where you can kind of craft. So like when you go through each room in the dungeon, you get a new card. And there's different builds within each class. So, like one class you can build up like a bunch of shields and then do stuff with those shields. Or one class you can do like a berserker build. So you like stay under 50% health and you're doing more damage. And it's just like you get relics that do like really crazy things. So it's awesome. Like if you like roguelikes or card games or just like RPGs in general, it's an amazing game. I'm usually pretty turned off by like 2D like simple art style stuff, especially if it's card and board. So it took me actually like playing a single game to really get hooked into it. But it's really all I've played. I've played an enormous amount of this game, way more than I ever thought I would. And it's again like Outer Wilds. I'm amazed that an indie studio can make something with such amount of content. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's the thing is it feels like these indie games have been doing so well compared to some of the AAA stuff out there. So I like that Game Pass does give you this ability to jump into a game that you may not want to put money down because you have no idea what it's like. It's not like an established brand, and get to enjoy something as fun as these games.
And it's great the developers are actually like bring on the indies. Like we want you guys a part of our cool club. Microsoft has been big on that, and it's paid off for them. Both of your games are indie titles that they've worked with, and it's awesome.
And I do think like in both cases, these are like really well handcrafted single player experiences where like most games now are like giant service games or if they're a single player game, they have a ton of DLC with them.
Exactly.
So there's something to be said about like something so particular and so intentional about something like Outer Wilds that feels different and good and refreshing based on what we play from AAA games.
Yeah.
One would say that the actual these indie developers are actually like holding on to the game style of yore, where it was simple first player games, and are holding on to that.
Exactly, and that's the thing. You're talking about DLC and stuff. I like that Outer Wilds is a self-contained game. You can play it all, experience it, and then when you're done, you're done. Yep. And there's not, they're not trying to get more money out of you. Yes, would I love more in this universe? Yes, but I really enjoyed my time there. Yeah, and it's something that. I would love to see more from Mobius, and I think what is their publisher? That Annapurna, I think they have a new game that's coming out. It was announced in Microsoft's E3 press briefing or whatever they called it, their E3 show, and it's called 12 Minutes. It seemed very similar. It's the same publisher, and it was a very time loop based thing. Nice. I would love to see more games from these developers and publishers. Not necessarily have to be milking every penny from that world though. So
I'm very happy that we've moved away from 8-bit 16-bit era replicas like clones of like Mega Man and Mario and like whatever. There's a place for them, and there's some really good standout games, but man, there's an oversaturation of those. Yeah. And now we're getting like really crazy unique things like these games.
Yeah. And one thing you said, Game Pass, is it Game Pass for PC only, or cause I looked on it, I couldn't find it. Okay.
Yeah, you can do both, but there's a beta page for PC Game Pass, and you can start for $1, and then I think it's like $5.
I meant like say the Spire. Yeah, I didn't see it on console. Yeah, I think that's only on PC, right?
Yeah, so I think it's PC only. Okay. It's definitely on Epic Store. It might be on Steam as well. So,
but no, I am glad that you are on Game Pass. I know we have kind of talked about it, over and over. And I think I mentioned it in a post on Instagram or something. I think we talked about it. But Game Pass Ultimate, oh man, this is such a great deal right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, awesome. Yeah. Now we're on to the real news. Let's talk about the news that's going on in this game. The news in gaming this week, we're excited to announce that Nintendo has officially announced a Switch hardware refresh called the Switch Lite. Yes. We are a couple weeks late. My E3 prediction was off by 2 weeks. I should still get my point.
You were close.
I was very close.
Hey, we've already played Superman 64.
That was an experience on its own.
Yeah.
So,
which you can look at on our YouTube channel. Yes. But we have a Switch Lite announcement. Switch Lite's going to be a little different than the normal Switch we've come to know and love. It's going to be a 5.5-inch screen, no docking mode. The JoyCons are not modular; they stick on like a normal Game Boy. Yep. I would say, and then it's priced at $200.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Do we like or don't like the Switch Lite? Go.
I really like. It doesn't affect me at all, and I kind of like that I'm not tempted with like a better Switch.
Yeah.
Because between like PS4 and PC, like I don't want to consider a better Switch right now.
Yeah.
I do like that it's making Switch more accessible, and the more successful that Switch is, the better games we get, all that kind of thing. So I think it's a smart business move, and I think it'll go well, especially for younger kids, bigger households. Brandon, you mentioned the screen size. Do you have your phone?
Yeah, so I have an iPhone XS Max, and the screen size of this is a 6.5-inch screen.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't realize, I was thinking this was 5.5 for the longest
Show
time.
to the camera,
but
Brando.
this right here is 6.5. So the Switch Lite is going to be an inch smaller than this.
That's crazy.
So it feels like this
To
is
me.
tiny, but again, the Switch currently is a 6.2-inch screen, so that's already smaller than this.
Yeah.
And I think it may not be the same aspect ratio. It might be a little bit taller, a little bit narrower
Sure.
or something.
Yeah.
But it does have a bigger bezel too, so it does feel bigger in your hands. But it's interesting to think that is it's actually the iPhone XS is still bigger than the Switch Lite screen. So
Interesting.
but it's I mean, that's fine. Like you said, it's not something that's enticing me to go out and buy one, but I do love that it is sub 200 for that market. That's something that is going to be great for a lot of people who have multiple kids. That I think Nintendo even mentioned that it is designed to, I think they want it to be a more of a multi-Switch household as opposed to like a one console, like an Xbox and a PS4 in a house, in someone's their world. So I think that's kind of interesting to think. I don't really have an opinion other than it's another option for people to buy.
I do think the most interesting part to me is that this is them saying like we're done with the DS, and they've tried, not tried, but they've done in the past DS integration with their like console, like home consoles. They tried with Wii U. They had kind of a Switch-esque controller, and now I love that they're just saying like, here's the Nintendo thing. It's all here. No matter like what kind of console you've got it all here. So
that is a good
that
point.
feels good to me. I felt like there was this whole world I wasn't a part of with 3DS, where like there's like a Majora's Mask remake and like some like amazing exclusives.
Bring it to the Switch.
Yeah,
Right,
It's
we
so
totally
bad.
want it. We
So
want it.
I part of me loves that like this is their statement saying
Yes.
like, here's your handheld console, and our titles in the future are going to include this. And I don't know about like resource allocation, but like the manpower going into creating games for the DS and creating the DS itself and innovating on that part of that has to be towards the Switch now, which is also good. So
that's a good point.
That's interesting.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I mean, I never had a DS, any of those. I mean, the last handheld I had from Nintendo was, I think, the Game Boy Advance SP or something.
Yep.
I think.
Me too.
And so, I missed out on so many of those games, and I didn't think about the fact that, this is their handheld now.
Yeah.
Or it could be, if that's what they want to do. And having everything playable on that family of devices, kind of like how Xbox is doing. This is their Xbox One family of the devices, or whatever it is really cool. And I like that I can play wherever. So
3DS is dead.
And I'll echo that a little bit. I think back a few episodes ago when we talked about what we were going to see in maybe a Switch refresh, we're probably not super surprised that we have a smaller Switch console.
Yeah.
We were kind of hoping for a more advanced Switch, but honestly, it's a little too early in the life cycle to think about the next gen Switch console. But
Maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next year. You never
I'm
know.
gonna steal that prediction.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
But I think for myself as a 3DS guy, like I really enjoyed the 3DS. And let's be honest here, the 3DS was a huge moneymaker for Nintendo.
Oh, yeah.
They sold tons of units. The 3DS was out when I think like right at the end of the Wii, like DS announced the 3DS, and then it went through the Wii U life cycle.
Yeah.
Like this thing has been around for ages. They
Yeah.
just announced like last year they were finishing up their last game for 3DS, and so
even now.
we were so. To have a place back in the handheld market for Nintendo was a really big deal. It was important that they kind of like get that in there. The only thing for me though is they mentioned that that there's going to be a little bit more battery life just due to just some architectural like remapping on the computer chips, and so it's not going to be a huge feature on it. But I am excited about a little bit of a bigger battery.
Yeah.
the D-pad.
Yeah,
There's a D-pad,
recessed in.
Yeah, because you can't take the Joy-Cons off now. They're saying, well, let's give you a D-pad instead of the 4 buttons because there's no point. I mean, people want a D-pad, and they did say, which is surprising, they did say there's no plans to come out with a D-pad version of a Joy-Con. So that's something.
Get your light, boys.
Yeah, if you want a D-pad, you go with the light, or you can mod your own. So
get your light switch.
I do think a big part of
that's good.
Like Brandon said, a big part of Nintendo's push to get this Switch Lite out into the market was they want to see a lot more families adopting the Switch as a household rather than just having one console in your stand. And so, but regarding that, I think for myself, I really enjoyed 3DS because of its portability and its ability to be like just taken wherever you go. The Switch, however, does mimic that, but the 3DS still beats out the Switch on battery life by like 2.5 times, I feel like.
Oh, wow.
And I even have a Nintendo 3DS that's pretty old at this point. And so I'd be interested to see how this new Switch will fare up in the market. I think it has some definite viability, but without the coveted cross-save option that we're looking for, it's going to be really tough for already a mature Switch buyer to be like, am I going to drop another $200 on a mini Switch to take with me that doesn't have a dock ability? And I think the dock ability is really what makes the Switch so unique in the market. And so having a Switch Lite version, we'll just see how it goes. But the colorways look really good, like turquoise, like aqua, and gray so far.
Here's a question too. I can't imagine that unless they had to redesign the interior, why they couldn't just put that docking feature in there and sell it without the dock, because I think the dock is like $80 anyway.
Right.
Why they don't have that feature? Because you can still pair Joy-Cons to the Switch. I like that, the light switch.
Yeah.
That says
the light switch.
That's the new name. Why you can still pair Joy-Cons to it, even though they have 2 built in.
Right.
I don't get why they didn't just have the docking ability there, just in case.
There's a form factor change too, right?
I guess it is smaller.
I mean, not that you couldn't do the whole deal, but I really do think they're saying like smaller body, smaller screen.
They don't want anybody to think
life.
of it as because there's no kickstand either. So it's just
And I think the biggest like deterring factor with the Switch was its $300 price point. Like $300 was insanely expensive. Nintendo's not dropping that anytime soon, I feel like. But with a $200 Switch option, that opens a whole new door for the market. But also, like, I'm sure they will drop the $200 like willy nilly, every once in a while. Like, we'll go to $150 for the holiday weekend or whatever, and whatever.
Because now it's because Xbox Sad Edition, Xbox One All Edition, or whatever it is. It's that one is now $200, but they said that it's going to go with price. Yeah, they're fluctuating. So
you
sales,
have your flagship and you have your one underneath it. You can fluctuate to kind of like manipulate the market. So
exactly.
To speak.
And that's what we're used to, and that's what we're like trying to fit the Switch Lite into. I'm going to start saying
call it Light Switch. That is a great name. I think Nintendo missed the ball there.
I mean, really,
the Light Switch.
They don't want to dilute the brand.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like a physical light switch. That's just great. There's so many things I can do with that. Exactly.
So much great branding and marketing right there.
But Kirk Hamilton, one of the like writers for Kotaku's thing was, his only thing was, did they use the Switch noise? Like the satisfying Nintendo Switch, and they did when they announced the light. And I was like, well, you can't do that though.
You can't do it. So
but the noise is there.
Exactly.
Right.
Do it with your mouth.
Right.
But in other news, we actually had some news about Lord of the Rings. We have a Lord of the Rings MMO announcement. Zach, what's going on with that one?
Yeah, it's like there's not much meat here, but what's interesting is it's a Lord of the Rings MMO, and it's Amazon Game Studios. So Amazon Game Studios formed and did fundraising, and we haven't seen like really anything that they're working on.
I didn't even know they assembled a game studio at all. So that's
they're coming in hot, and it's really interesting that so two things. I think a Lord of the Rings MMO will be awesome. Lord of the Rings Online is like very hit or miss. It didn't hold up well with Final Fantasy 14 and WoW and ESO. So I'm excited to see a new iteration of this. Mm-hmm. I love, obviously, Lord of the Rings world. It's like it's the Middle Earth. Like you should be able to do all the things with it. Their Amazon Game Studios is kind of the first thing that they've announced, and they're partnering with 2 game studios to make this. They obviously have the money for it. So I'm interested to see. This should be like closer to a AAA title, AAA title. And this says like we have faith in the MMO genre, which is not a popular thing to say in 2019. Even with Final Fantasy 14 and WoW like doing so well and making money, it's just one of those things that's hard to establish and then gain a foothold within the market. So very excited to see more from Amazon Game Studios coming up.
And Amazon also has the rights to do a Lord of the Rings episodic season thing.
Oh, cool.
They've been working on too. So
I was going to ask about
fits
that.
hand in glove with that as well.
Yeah.
Licensing with IPs like that. I'm not familiar with that, but I know that WB Games, don't they have the Middle Earth, Shadow of Mordor games too? And I know that they're still, I don't know, but I'm hoping they continue to make those games because they're fun.
Yeah.
How does that work with Amazon Game Studios?
I don't know if it has to do with just licensing to multiple producers or if it's like part of the series. So like Middle or the Shadow of War was like a cut before, I think. I'm going to misspeak on that, but it's not like it doesn't take place in the main trilogy. So it might be part of that. Maybe like here you get the Hobbit, you get the main cut, you can make whatever you want as long as it's on the fringes kind of thing. I don't know. They might be licensing to multiple people or it's moved as well. So that's a good question. We'll find that out.
Overall, gaming news in July is pretty sparse. Coming off the tails of E3, we can't expect to have a ton of content regarding games, so we did have a good bunch. But we want to talk about a little bit about just some off-topic stuff. We are the gaming casuals. We can casually talk about other things in the Switch, Nintendo, Xbox, Sony World. That wasn't a really good segue. But
that was great.
Either way, we talk about pop culture a little bit here. We've got some really big news coming live from Brando. You saw SpiderMan.
I saw SpiderMan.
So tell me about SpiderMan.
Yes.
What's going on with SpiderMan?
So
Aren't they done with SpiderMan yet?
Oh, no. I think Tom Holland just said he would play Spider-Man for the rest of his life if he could.
Monday.
My wife and I got to go on a little date couple nights ago, and yes, I took my wife to a Marvel movie.
Your wife's the coolest.
Was the theater far from home, or was it pretty close?
Well,
yes, yes.
No, she actually really enjoyed it. I feel bad because a lot of times we get to go out. It is like a superhero movie, but she actually really enjoyed it. She said
awesome.
It is Spider-Man Far From Home. And I'm a big, you got it. I'm a big Marvel fan. A huge MCU guy. I've seen all the movies multiple times. I thought this was a great movie to tie right after Endgame. I'm not going to spoil because I know, Zach, you are lagging behind.
Unpopular
in this
opinion,
world.
not really worth it.
Really?
Don't you dare listen to this man. I don't
really
know what he's talking
Back to
about.
you, Brando.
They barely made any money anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Sadly, they did fail to beat Avatar in their re-release attempt at passing it, but that's beside the point. Yes, Zach, you have been slowly catching up, so I'm not going to spoil too much. But Peter Parker is back in his second outing in his solo film, and they are taking a school trip to Europe.
Oh,
and
high school!
It's fun. It's
That's
kind
awesome.
of
I like that.
Yeah, it's the movie. The great thing about Spider-Man: Homecoming was it was very much a John Hughes type movie in high school. It was fun. It wasn't like retreading on the whole Peter Parker gets bitten by a spider, Uncle Ben dies, and all these things that you've seen multiple times in Sony's reboots over and over.
They did that very right.
They did it very right. And so this one is more of like a Euro trip kind of high school. It's fun because it's a different setting. It's nice because if you've seen the trailers, Mysterio is here and he's a good guy. He's literally here to help Nick Fury, Maria Hill, S.H.I.E.L.D. In trying to fight these elemental enemies. It's really good. I really enjoyed the character development they had there. Just seeing some of these characters, different takes on them. Zendaya is MJ from the comics.
From
it's a different MJ, Mary Jane. She's not Mary Jane. She's Michelle, but she goes by MJ. So it's a different iteration on it. But it is
goodbye, Canon.
It is. It is that the MCU iteration of that. But it's still great. It's a really enjoyable experience seeing how they interact with each other. Jake Gyllenhaal does a fantastic job as Quentin Beck. Yeah,
Who's Jake Gyllenhaal?
he's Quentin Beck, Mysterio.
Oh, awesome.
He was
And
also
he's-
in The Prince of Persia.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
familiar
Which he
with
tries to
his,
forget.
work. Yeah.
Good job bringing it back to gaming there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does a really good job. I mean, I think him and Tom Holland were like best buddies during the press tour, and you can see that on screen too. They really have great chemistry.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's a good continuation of Endgame because it does pick up literally right after Endgame, and it does a good job kind of finishing out Phase 3 of the MCU because that's actually the last movie, not Endgame, and it sets up the stakes for season 4. Phase 4 of the next season of Marvel movies. So I highly recommend it, especially if you're a Marvel fan. If you are not, then still go see it because it's a good movie. So
That's a really interesting segue, Brandon, because I was also far from home
Yes,
these
you were.
past 2 weeks. I have been in Slovenia, a country in Central Europe, but we did have a 10-hour plane ride, and I got to catch up on some movies via Air France. Hashtag Air France. And also reading some books.
books are good.
Anyway, but I watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
That's a great movie
And
too.
it was incredible.
Man, I
See,
really want to watch that.
you
now
haven't
it's on
seen that?
Netflix.
You
No.
guys have to watch that movie.
I mean,
It
it's
is-
My
like
boys
the
love
animated
it.
movie
Strictly.
category of the Oscars. Like, I know it's amazing.
It's an incredible film.
My kids love the movie. They want to hear the song "Sunflower" all day long
Nice.
because it's in. Yeah,
So do I.
It's such a good movie, though. It's not MCU, but it doesn't matter. It's such
They
a good
did
movie.
such a great job.
Yeah.
So go watch Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse.
But I guess two
and that's like a
Spider-Man
year
movies
old
to watch?
almost now.
Yeah, it's a little
But-
older.
So you got to catch up, man.
Yeah.
But I have been reading the Witcher series. I got to catch up on a couple books. We actually had some news regarding The Witcher. They actually announced they've announced their main cast for the series coming. I believe it's in November or later this year on Netflix.
This year?
Yeah,
Oh,
this year.
wow.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
Superman, right?
Yeah, Henry Cavill plays Geralt.
How is that?
I'm super excited about it.
It's
It's gonna be so great.
There's some like pre-release photos that look great. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they announced they had some new photos, some new art going on. But I've been reading the Witcher books in preparation for this
TV
series
show,
coming on
yeah.
Netflix, and I'm super excited about it. I would recommend the books to anybody who likes the Witcher franchise. I thought the Witchers 2 and 3 were at least some of the best games ever made in the genre. I do think that Witcher 1 did need some help, but Witcher 1 was really good just to set you up for 2 and 3 as well. So, but I think the books, I believe it's Andrzej Sapkowski. Is
Okay.
how you pronounce it? It's Polish. I'm sorry, forgive me, Polish people, if I
For all the
mispronounced
books?
it. Yeah.
And does he work for CD Projekt Red, or is it like kind
He's
of a?
not. So they
Yeah,
actually took his intellectual work
Okay.
and they adapted it into the video game franchise. And so
Oh, wow.
there's actually there's actually 2 beginning books that were just short stories of The Witcher, of just like, you think about a Witcher side quest in Witcher 3 where you go pay some money, fight a monster. Well, there's 2 books just full of these short stories.
Oh, wow.
And they're really great. They set up kind of like who the Witcher is as a monster slayer, his character, what he looks like how he reacts, all this stuff. Set up the universe, and then books 3 through 5, I believe. They are actually a trilogy of books that actually take place before Witcher 1. If you guys play Witcher 3, you actually save a girl called Cirilla, who is like essentially Geralt's ward. And Witcher's books 3, 4, and 5 actually go through her childhood. And so if you don't have a lot of context about Witcher's series adventures in The Witcher 3 or 2 for that matter, but there are a lot of allusions to the books throughout the games. And so if you read the books and replay the Witcher games, you really see how much care Project Red put into The Witcher.
I like that.
And you can kind of see like you actually see Geralt for who he is in the books is the same as the one in the games. That's something
that's
I've
cool.
really learned to respect and love about how they've adapted the game to mean some of that content in the book. So I'm gonna play Witcher 3 for the 4th time after I read the books without a world map
On the Switch,
on the
On the
Xbox
Switch
One.
Lite.
potato version.
On the 540p. No, I'm gonna play it one more time. But the book's just really great, and I highly recommend those books to anybody who loves The Witcher. As
So
a
what if you've
franchise.
never played the Witcher games at all? Are they enjoyable on their own? Is it something that playing the games really enhances your experience because it's like, oh, I know that character?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I would say unless you're a big fantasy action adventure reader, I don't think The Witcher like reinvents the wheel from some of the other epics we've seen like Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings or whatever, or even Wheel of Time. But I do think that it's a different take on the franchise, it is somewhat refreshing, and so. But I don't think you're going to get a whole lot if you read the books first. I think it's really cool to actually play through the games first
Gives
and
you some
then read the
context
books,
and
see the
some-
context. It's hard to imagine the world if you just read it fresh from the beginning.
Yep.
And sometimes the translations can get a little weird. It's not going from a Slavic language to an English language. Sometimes it's hard to like read through the first 2 books with the way the things are worded. But overall, like the books are really, really great as a support to the background of the games. And I can't explain to you how much they've taken from these books and added it to these games. Like all the characters are the same. Some major characters like Dijkstra or Krakon Krayt, they're all in the books. They all have deep histories and ties with Geralt throughout the story. And so being able to go and refresh those and look at them again and be like, wow, like I didn't realize how much care they put into that. It's really quite amazing. And so highly recommend the Witcher books in preparation for the Netflix special.
Is the Netflix special based on the games or the books?
So as far as I'm aware, it's going to be based off of the books. It's going to be back when Geralt was a younger Witcher. And then I think it's actually like revolved around the first couple books in the trilogy.
So they're going to CGI his beard later on because he's younger now, and then
He doesn't get the beard until Witcher 1. He doesn't actually get the beard until later. Anyway, sorry. 3.
Superman joke.
Wow.
Oh, was that a Superman joke?
Justice League. They
I didn't even see it coming.
CGI'd his mustache.
I was bamboozled.
Yeah.
Bamboozled. But if you guys haven't seen any of the press releases, I think Henry Cavill will do a great job, and I'm super excited about the series.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So with that, Stranger Things.
Yeah. I know we're running super long, but real quick, Stranger Things just came out July 4th, season 3. This season so far is amazing. I'm only halfway through. Brandon, you finished it, right? Have you
binged
watched
that
any
thing.
of it? Do you watch Stranger Things, John?
My wife and I have watched the first 2 seasons.
Okay,
So
but
you-
none
I
of
wasn't-
season
You were
3.
out of town. So
I wasn't a big season 2 guy.
Well, guess what? Season 3 is better.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
season
Goodness.
2 had its pitfalls for sure,
Yeah.
but I felt like they did a good job
Winona Ryder.
they had some really good storylines and it all converges. It's great. So
Yeah, it's amazing. Full 80s goodness, great music, great colors, great acting, all the things.
Okay,
Go
so watch
it.
Stranger Things.
Yeah.
All right, and so finally, before we end our podcast today, we actually do have a Let's Play video. We actually played through Superman 64, part of our E3 predictions bet resolved because Brandon kicked our pants in the
I'm
predictions
sorry.
episode.
I regret
Very rough.
regret that.
And so we played through Superman 64. We didn't even beat the first mission, but it was a great old time. It was full of friendship, and overall, it was just...
I think we learned something.
we learned something about
in that
ourselves more
video.
than anything
John
else.
can't read. That's what we learned.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. We got stronger. As
We
a
did get
podcast.
stronger.
Yeah.
You guys are really good at video games. Let's just put it that way.
Well,
so
John's pretty good at flying through rings.
Well, if you
Yes.
like flying through rings, this video is for you. Go see it on our YouTube page. Also, we're on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. So
let us know if you want more of those videos, by the way, because
Yes.
we like playing games. Obviously, we love talking about them. So if you want to see more, let us know, and we will figure that out.
TGC Plays, a terrible game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that concludes our episode of the Gaming Casuals podcast. Once again, find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and where podcasts are not sold. You can find us on, Google Play. You can find us on iTunes. You can even find us on Spotify. So subscribe to us there. Let us know what you think of the episode. We hope you enjoy your week and enjoy Stranger Things. Have a good day, guys. We'll see you later.